Good morning and half a day. The Committee on General Government Operations, Appropriation, and Housing is now called to order. For the record, today is Monday, July 19th, and the time now is 8:30. Notice for this public hearing were disseminated via email to all senators and all main media broadcasting outlets. First public notice was issued on July 8th, followed by July 15th. The committee will hear and accept testimony on the appointment of Ms. Shannon Murphy to be a member of the Guam Ethics Commission. Term length is 4 years. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of Senator Frank Blas has joined me. The conduct of this public hearing shall be those testifying on behalf of Ms. Shannon Murphy or have been invited to the panel, and they are Mr. Jesh Kinga and herself, Ms. Shannon Murphy. Written testimony shall be submitted to the committee. Please provide my legislative staff with written testimony for photocopying. Testimony may be read, and lengthy testimony should be summarized to about 5 minutes. Those testifying will be allowed to present oral testimony. Once you're done, please remain in the room for questions or for additional testimony or as may be desired by members of the committee. Questions and testimony shall be confined to the substance or nature of the agenda, which is the nomination of Ms. Shannon Murphy. Personal inference as to the character or motive of any senator or any individual testifying is not permitted. Any violation of the general rule of conduct will result in removal from the public hearing room. Proper form decorum shall be practiced by all present in the public hearing room for these proceedings. Individuals who fail to maintain proper form decorum may be restricted from providing oral testimony and will be removed from the room. When you speak, please make sure that the microphone is on, that you speak into the microphone. You'll state your name and your title for the record. We will now begin to discuss the appointment of Ms. Shannon Murphy. Ms. Murphy, if you can please go ahead and start your testimony.
Half a day. My name is Shannon Murphy. I've been nominated by Governor Lulu Guerrero for a second term to the Guam Ethics Commission and seek your confirmation today. I come to you with many years of experience in the private sector as well as the nonprofit sector and 5 years with the government of Guam here at the Guam legislature. I recently retired as managing editor of Guampedia, an educational project I managed since its inception in 2002. I continue to serve as editor, though, now on a part-time contractual basis. I have an extensive professional background in journalism, particularly pertaining to Guam and the Micronesia region. My first term on the brand new Ethics Commission was for 2 years, all the while serving as chairwoman. Since the commission was formed in 2019, we have made much progress, but still have a ways to go before accepting complaints. The commission is very grateful to have received its first appropriation this fiscal year. We quickly began a search for an executive director, and back in February, we've hired Jesse Kinga, sitting here, to serve in that role. Subsequently, we have also hired 2 staff members, Donovan Alger and Pam Mabaza. In the months that followed, the commission has concluded major bids that include an office lease. This month, GSA signed the lease with the GCIC building. It will still need to be furnished and communication lines installed, but we look forward to announcing the opening of the office in the near future. 2 bills have been passed by this body to strengthen the commission, which we greatly appreciate. We have more independence now and have been given a larger role in ethics training for the government of Guam employees. With the local appropriations funds remaining, the commission has prioritized 2 activities. The first is to secure a contract for legal services, and we are in the process of hiring a legal firm to guide us in establishing solid procedures for handling complaints. We want to be sure that we have a clear path once a complaint is filed with transparent outcomes, all on a timely basis. The second is the development of the Ethics Commission's website and e-learning portal for the ethics and the government program. The staff has been identifying capable website developers to work with us and create a robust website that includes complaints portal as well as the educational portal. Our goal is to have complaints and ethics education courses online for the most part. Of course, some people will prefer to file complaints in the office and do the in-person learning, but we believe that most will find online learning and filing much easier. It will also be less costly for the commission. Employees will simply register online, go through the training, and be issued a certificate by email. Directors will be informed on the training progress periodically. Our staff is undergoing various trainings at present, including Government of Guam procurement training and investigative procedures training, both needed for the Commission's work. I consider good ethics of vital importance for good government. I know matters brought before the Commission can have a big impact on lives and must be taken seriously. With 12,000 government employees providing services to the people of Guam, we need to keep the tomorrow value of Afamalik firmly in mind as to provide for a conscientious and just government service for the good of all. The Guam Ethics Commission exists to provide a comprehensive, accessible resource about ethics in government that will educate Government of Guam employees and handle complaints about unethical behavior and actions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy. Jesse, do you have any testimony you would like to provide on behalf of Ms. Murphy?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman Senator Joseph Agustin and Senator Frank Blas Jr. for being here today. Yes, I'd just like to express my support for the nomination of Shannon Murphy to join another 4 years on the Ethics Commission. It was her leadership and temperament that's much appreciated. Shannon has been very engaged from the very beginning, working with the staff in developing these procedures, and as well as establishing our goals for the upcoming years. So we look forward to more work. I think we haven't gotten yet with the complaints, and we'd love to see Shannon on board as that process begins. With her temperament, I think will be much appreciated. So thank you, Senator, and I support the nomination. Thank
you, Mr. Kinga. We'd like to also recognize that we're also joined by Senator Tello Taidagui. And I'd ask my colleagues to go ahead and ask questions. I'll now ask final question and close the nomination hearing. Senator Frank.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning to Jess and Shannon. Shannon, just one question. You ready to do this?
I'm ready.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Senator Tello, do you have any questions for Ms. Murphy?
I apologize for being a little late. I knew it was your confirmation hearing. Shannon, I've known you, for the record, for many, many years. We don't want to go too far back, right? But this position that you're taking is very, very important. Very important. Especially when anything should come up, that it's addressed right away, that it's not lingering, you know. People need clarification or justification right away.
Yeah.
And holding it on too long is an injustice.
I agree.
It's unfortunate on this island that people are, you know, deemed guilty before proven innocent.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, it's unfortunate that some people think that way. So that's why I think that having everything heard right away is really, really fair and important. Shannon, you've been at this for a while already. Can you tell me something that you see that could be improved on, or something that you would like to see? There have been several bills that have been passed. And if you can elaborate on how you're going to ensure that that is followed through, those bills, and anything on improvement for where you're at.
Sure. The first bill that was passed recently was, what's that? Oh, closer.
Yeah, make sure it's on.
Was to do with the independence of the commission, which we believe was necessary so that, you know, there isn't any, you know, people thinking that we're favoring somebody, you know, with a positive outcome due to our connection to them in the government, you know, like with the governor's office. And so that was really important, and we're happy that that happened. The other bill was the one that Sabina Perez wrote, and that was about doing ethics in government training for all the government employees, not just the directors and board members, so which is like 12,000 people. So that's like a big job for us. And we're really excited about it. We think that's the right thing to do. And then people can't say, well, I didn't know, because they've already taken the training, right? So that we're really excited about that. And so now that we have our office, we have our staff, the next thing is to create these two programs. One is the ethics and government training, and the other is to work on the whole complaint process, which we believe is, you know, we've just hired an attorney, so that's going to be the focus now for this summer. So now that we have those two things underway, we've got to get that all straightened out and make sure that we're really feel comfortable with it before we actually start taking complaints, because we don't want to like, get complaints and then they'll just like languish in our office. We want things to move quickly and, make sure that it's done properly. So we just got to do it right. And that's what our focus is. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay.
You're both of you, the position that you take on, especially in this arena of ethics,
Yeah.
is it can be very muddy at sometimes, messy, and politics gets in the way many times. So I'm going to ask you, if something comes in front of you, something political, in other words, to pressure you on somebody's outcome of a case, will you be morally and ethically bound by your position to be fair, honest, and not allow any political agenda to get in the way of what's right?
Well, yeah, I don't see that as a problem at all. I'm not really, all of our board members, none of them have family members in the government of Guam, or immediate family members anyway. And we're all very committed to seeing the government of Guam be, uplifted on the whole ethical behavior. So we're working on our mission statement right now and all that, and we're feeling really positive about it. So I hope you will too.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for stepping up, especially at this particular type of board. It's very, it's going to be difficult for you.
Yeah.
I greatly appreciate you wanting to serve again, the people of Guam. As long as I've known, you've always been on this island serving us, but in this capacity, it gets pretty contentious sometimes. So I leave my door open, my office open to you. If you have any issues, especially when you're trying to be ethically and morally correct and someone's giving you a hard time, please come see me.
Okay.
I'll be happy to help and back up what you have, what is right, morally and ethically right for you, especially if you're sticking to your guns
Yeah.
and people harassing you. You come see me.
Okay.
I will be there to stand next to you.
Thank
Okay?
you. Okay.
Okay, and same to you, Jess, as well, Mr. King, please. So just Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Tello. Ms. Shannon, I appreciate your willingness to serve in this position again, to continue serving. And I'm very confident that your time on the board will be effective and productive. I'm in support of your nomination. It's obvious that you got two other supporters, so I don't believe we're going to have a problem on this upcoming session on putting the packet together and sending it through. And with that, we'll conclude the public hearing on your nomination, Ms. Murphy. The committee will continue to receive testimony. Please address your written testimony to the Committee on General Government Operation, Appropriation, and Housing and submit it via email to Senator Joe S. Agustin at gmail.com or to my office located at Rand Care Building, 2nd floor, Suite 3, 761 South Marine Corps Drive, Tamuning, Guam. Sizuz Masi for your attendance and participating in today's hearing, Ms. Murphy and Mr. Kenga. And for those at home, thank you for watching. The public hearing on the appointment of Ms. Shannon Murphy is now adjourned at 8:43.
Very good.
Thank you. Please
Thank
be
you.
safe.
All right.
We will now proceed once we have sanitized the area. So we'll take a quick recess in the event that others will appear to testify on Bill 70-36 and Bill 91-36. So we'll take a 5-minute recess. Thank you. Good morning and Hafide. The Committee on General Government Operation, Appropriation, and Housing is now called to order. For the record, today is Monday, July 19, 2021. And the time now is 8:46. Notice for this public hearing were disseminated via email to all senators and all main media broadcasting outlets. First public notice was issued on July 8th and then followed on July 15th. The committee will hear and accept testimony on Bill 70-36, introduced by Senator Frank Blas, co-sponsored by Vice Speaker Tina Rose Muña Barnes and Senator Chris Dueñas. An act to add a new Chapter 54 to Title 11 of the Guam Code Annotated to create a tax rebate for personal protective equipment, PPE. This act should be known as the PPE for Guam Act of 2021. I'd like to recognize my colleagues that have joined me for this hearing, and I have the author, Senator Frank Blas and Senator Tero Taidui. Those testifying on behalf of Bill 70-36 are invited to the panel. There are no one here to testify, so we will just proceed to the opening statement by Senator Frank Blas, and we'll move from there. And if any of my colleagues have any questions, we can proceed with that. And immediately after this bill, we will go right into Bill 91-36. Thank you. Senator Blas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to my colleague, Senator Taidui, for being here this morning too as well. Mr. Chair, Bill 70-36, again, is basically known as the PPE for Guam Act of 2021. I think that over the last year or so, our residents have been mandated, basically told to make some purchases for some personal protective equipment and for materials that were necessary to help to, combat this coronavirus pandemic that our community faces. In that, as you couple that with many of our thousands of our residents who were basically either laid off or were told to stay away from work, many found it very difficult to make ends meet. And when you add on the cost of having to purchase personal protective equipment such as face masks, gloves, face shields, hand sanitizers, personal hygienes, I think, one time it was all the wipes and everything that was taken from the stores. These are costs that people did not prepare for, and in some cases, so that they can meet these mandates and they can continue to protect themselves, were purchases and payments that had to be made so they can do so that they can meet the mandates by the government. That said, is that when the government imposes a mandate on the community, I believe that then the government also has an opportunity, has a responsibility to be able to as well figure out ways to be able to provide not just the things that they're mandating the community to provide, but also recompense for those purchases that were necessary. So what this bill provides is a avenue and a means to be able to, through tax rebates, and the discussion can continue on as to, what funding source can be provided, but a rebate of up to $500 per taxpayer, per head of household, for those purchases that they needed to make to meet these government mandates. Now, this is just a one-time, basically payment, if you will. But, $500 for many people is going to go a long ways. It's $500 for many people was very difficult to be able to sustain and to get at those times. So what this bill provides is that means necessary to provide compensation, recompense to those families, to our community who had to meet those mandates. So, thank you, Mr. Chair, for having the hearing on this bill. I hope that as we move along, that this bill does become on the floor for deliberation and hopeful passage. And then our discussions continue, then begin with the governor as to how this can be provided to the community. I'm not going to speculate nor assume, nor provide that there is a means to be able to do this, but there is. Okay, and very recently with the federal funding that was received by the government, and then also apparently, there has been some basically surplus as reported. So maybe in this surplus that the government purports to have, they can provide the funding, be able to provide back to the community. So thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I look for its favorable disposition by the committee and then reporting out to the floor for deliberation. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Blas. Senator Tidy, would you like to comment on this bill before I make final comments and we'll close on this hearing?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And, I was hoping we'd have somebody from Revenue Tax here to kind of talk to us about any impact this may have to the general fund or even DOE. But if you think about it, Mr. Chair, this is very minimal. Many families have had to use their own funding to purchase masks, hand sanitizers, and goes far in certain circumstances having to get air purifiers, into the room. I mean, this body ourselves had to purchase some of that to keep our people safe. And some people may think that this bill may, it's not needed. We're almost through with the pandemic. But if you look at the news, Mr. Chair, you're going to see that there are so many other variants that are coming about, and we have to be very, very careful. We're not looking at this, ending in the next month or two. It may take another year before we can feel safe about removing our masks or, putting our guard down. And that's what got us in the first place. Remember when the numbers were rising, is that one open opportunity where we put our guard down. And then numbers started going skyrocketing. But even with the RISE Act, Mr. Chair, the RISE Act is just a minimum of 800, and I hear that it may even go further down to less than 800. So if anything, every amount that we can give to our public, our community, to assist them in any way to overcome the issues of this pandemic, and most especially to keep them safe, then we need to do our job. So this bill, I wish it came sooner. We had a public hearing on this sooner because there's a lot of people out there that could use this advantage to them to help them out, to keep their families safe. So I thank you, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity to make comment on this piece of legislation.
Thank you, Senator Tidy. And my only comment, very short comments from me as the oversight on budget, is that I'm going to inquire from Revenue and Tax exactly how many taxpayers we have in Island, times the amount, $500, and we'll work from there, because I honestly believe that as GovGuam and as GovGuam has taken care of the people of Guam to the CARES Act, and again from the American Rescue Plan, there's no reason why once we find out the total amount, we can reach out and say that maybe that's how it should be funded. We don't need to reach back into our pockets, but let's reach out to the federal programs to pay for this, because this is something that's mandated and it came from the federal government and extended to us in our medical field, and let's find a way. And I agree with this and I fully support this, where we find a way to fund this. One way or the other, let's get it funded and let's take care of our people, because one of the major key here is the people of Guam needs to be reminded, file your taxes. Because if you don't file your taxes, you can't be recorded. And we don't have to go to the motion of who didn't file their taxes so they can get reimbursement or rebate. When you don't file, you're not recorded, then you lose out. And then we'll move from there. With that said, the committee will conclude this public hearing and will continue to receive testimony. And I will update my colleagues of the numbers that I get from Revenue and Tax, and address your written testimony to the Committee on General Government Operation, Appropriation, and Housing, and submit it via email to Senator Joe S. @gmail.com, or to my office located at Rand Care Building, 2nd floor, Suite 3, 761 South Marine Corps Drive, Tamuning, Guam. Sijus Marci, for your attendance, my colleagues, and for the people of Guam, thank you for watching. The public hearing on Bill 70-36 COR is now adjourned. It is 8:57. And we'll now proceed to Bill 91-36, an act to add a new subsection 1.1 and .2 to subsection 19803 of Chapter 19, Title 10, Guam Code Annotated, relative to restricting non-essential hiring and pay raises during the declaration of an island-wide state of emergency. And we have no one here to testify, so I'd ask the author of the bill to please give his opening statement, and we'll proceed to my colleagues making statements and comments so we can move on with this bill. Thank you. Senator Blas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning. Mr. Chair, first off, I want to thank you and your committee for having the opportunity to have this hearing on this piece of legislation that apparently, has gotten has raised some concern with at least the Bureau of Budget Management Research. But let me explain a little bit explain what the bill is. What this bill basically provides is that in the declaration of an island-wide state of emergency, and it's very clear, an island-wide state of emergency, when there's an incident, there's an event that is affecting this entire community, that in that time period, while we are dealing with this state of emergency, that one of the things that we do is we direct all our resources that we have within the government of Guam towards mitigating and responding to this state of emergency. One of those areas here is the restriction of hiring or pay raises for hiring of individuals that are not directly related or not necessary to be able to respond and to mitigate the emergency. The restriction does not apply afterwards. It basically says that while we are in this state of emergency, the restrictions on hiring and on the pay raises, there are restrictions on that during that time period. As noted, noticed in the fiscal note provided by BBMR, what the concerns they had brought up was basically two opinions that were provided by the Attorney Generals, one back in 2018 and one back in 2012. Interesting enough is that both letters or both opinions from the AGs were on hiring prohibitions that were based on budgetary concerns. This is not a budgetary concern here per se, and as far as the totality of the government, and this is not a prohibition, this is a restriction during a time certain, during an island-wide state of emergency. So, with regard to the letter that was provided by the Attorney Generals, I appreciate it, but it was not on point, it was not salient, or nor was it germane to the discussion that this bill or what this bill intends to provide. So I think that the purpose and the necessity for this bill and the reasoning for this bill, is sound, and while I appreciate the concern that was brought up to the as far as the Attorney General's opinion in 2012 and 2018, it doesn't fit this one. This is just during an emergency, this island-wide state of emergency, and that's all it's intended to provide. So thank you, Mr. Chair, for this opportunity to be able to provide that comment. I'm hoping for a passage and a release from the committee to be put onto session agenda so that they can be dealt with on the floor. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Blas. Senator Tadegui, do you have any comments to this bill?
Mr. Chair, and Mr. Chair, I really look forward to the debate on this on the floor. This is going to be very interesting. It's something that I think we all had the opportunity to experience at a long period of time. We were concerned about some of the procurement that was going on during a state of emergency, and we're questioning that and we're adjusting that to ensure that there's transparency and accountability, especially during a state of an emergency. I think, Mr. Chair, it looks as though that we may have to include something in our budget bills from here on out, which talks about in the event there's a state of emergency, funding shall not be used to hire. I mean, if we're looking at the Organic Act of Guam, where, and what was provided by the Attorney General, I see some issues there. I've gone down this road before where there was a question about the ability of the governor's powers in hiring who or he decides to hire, as long as the money is funded into his or her budget. They have that every right. But if we put restrictions in our budget, then that's something we can do. So it looks like this is going down a whole new road where usually emergencies only are about, I think the longest we've ever had was a month or 2 months, if anything. This is over a year. So, Mr. Chair, I appreciate this legislation, and again, I look forward to the debate on the floor. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, Senator Tydeway. My only comment to this, number one, I kind of like this bill. So this bill is going to come out of my committee, definitely. Number one, I want to express to the people of Guam that this bill is saying that when we're in an emergency, you don't just hire anybody you want. It's got to be related to the emergency. And if you justify it, regardless who the governor is, or any of the, or may it be the legislature or the court, if it's related to responding to the emergency, then please do so. It's for the people of Guam's benefit. Number two, I believe that maybe we can amend this. I have talked to Senator Blas here. Restriction on pay raise. The word pay raise is not about increments. Increment is the normal process that everybody goes through. We're talking about if all of a sudden I want to give one of my staff a pay raise that is not increment related. That should not happen. We're supposed to focus our funding, our limited funding, to responding to the emergency. And that is what I believe this bill's full intent is. And with that, this bill will come out and we will discuss this on the floor and we'll move forward. It's all about focusing on the recovery and the stability of the people of our island. And with that, the committee will continue to receive testimony. Please address your written testimony to the Committee on General Government Operation, Appropriation and Housing, and submit it via email to Senator Joe S. Agustin at gmail.com or to my office located at Rand Care Building, 2nd floor, Suite 3, 761 South Marine Corps Drive, Muña, Guam. And this will conclude the public hearing on Bill 91-36. And thank you for your attendance, my colleagues. And for the people of Guam, thank you for watching. The public hearing on Bill 91-36 LS is now adjourned at 9:05. And I look forward to seeing this bill on the floor. Thank you. Please be safe. Take care.